So can I ask you guys how old you are? No, seriously, is there anybody under 25 here? 25 or under? Okay, great show of hands. And second question, how many of you feel a little bit overwhelmed with all of this stuff that we're hearing here about all of the disruptions and how our lives are constantly changing? Well, I'm not surprised about that. If you take a look at where we are today, I think very few people really understand the type of changes that are happening. I think we understand a little bit here and there, a couple of business models, but I don't think that we really grasp sort of the speed at which things are changing around us. If you take a look at demographics, for example, it took the world until 1800 to produce the first 1 billion people, then another 140 years to the second. Now we're going towards 7.5, soon 9 billion people. And a third of the 7 billion people are children. They are 15 and under. And 85% of those that are 25 and under live in the emerging markets. There is a shift of economic gravity. The center of economic gravity is moving east by 140 kilometers each year, which is faster than ever before. So fundamental shifts in demographics, but also fundamental shifts through information technology. We produce as much information every 10 minutes as we did from the beginning of mankind until 2003. That means 90% of all the data that exists in the world has been produced in the last 2 years. And what this creates is sort of this war for our attention. We don't even know what to focus on anymore. There's so much stuff happening. We've heard about disruption in the business models, for example. And if you think about it, we've just heard from Uber, the largest cab company in the world that doesn't own a single car. Airbnb, the largest hotel chains, or one of the larger ones, that doesn't own a single hotel room. Alibaba, the largest retailer, doesn't own any goods. Facebook, the biggest content company in the world, doesn't do any media. Something is happening. The barriers of entry are so low because of technology. You can speed and you can grow very, very fast. And all of this is just changing the world around us in the way we live, we communicate, anything that we do. And everything is going digital. If you take a look, for example, at these two chairs on the left, one of the chairs was produced by a CAD, by a designer, IT architect or a design architect, and she used computer-aided design. The one on the right was produced by a robot, completely with artificial intelligence. It's cheaper, it's more robust, and it was done much more quickly, and it was printed in one go on a 3D printer. You can print just about anything on 3D printers. We've just seen this week a beautiful house was printed in China. There's right now a bridge being printed like on the go, in the move, on one of the canals in Amsterdam. There is no limit to anything. Then you take a look at this interconnectedness. We're in the third IT revolution. The first one was sort of 60s or 70s when we started to automate processes, and then came the internet that connected all of that. And now we're living in a world where the products themselves get smart. They have chips and sensors embedded. And the product itself is not in the middle of the value chain. It's not in the sort of the center of the marketing chain anymore. It's the data and the information and the services that the products render. That's changing fundamentally how marketing and sales work. If you, for example, are an engine producer for airlines, the way you price going forward is not on just selling that engine, it's on the data that this renders. The engine needs to basically start self-repairing if something is wrong, giving messages instantaneously if the engine can't repair itself, to the ground crew to say, look, this is going on right now. When we get there, I need 1, 2, and 3, those type of parts, and things can be done much quicker. Machines talking to machines, machines talking to people, people talking to machines. About a year ago already, this story happened, and it's a true story. And again, it's not new, it's a year ago. So this guy sits on an airplane, and the purser says, look, we're going on the runway, and they're leaving the gate, please, turn off your machine or put him in airplane mode. And just at that moment, he gets a red alert from his TripIt account that says, look, your flight, let's call it Delta 123, has just been canceled. And there's another seat on United. It's the last one. Do you want to book it? And he goes, well, I'm about to take off here. But yeah, sure, why not, This is a new day and age. Let's try. Minute later, pilot comes on and says, ladies and gentlemen, we're having engine problems or whatever. We're going back to the gate and the ground crew will help you. So you do have an advantage if you know how things around you work. And like I said, daily life is changing around us. You now can get earbuds that sense your mood. It fits with the previous presentation. And you basically get the music served up that is right for the mood of the day. You can have cups that tell you exactly, what type of liquid is in there. Is it too much caffeine? Are you dehydrating yourself? Should you be drinking something else? There are sensors in the ground in many cities in the US specifically that tell you exactly when you're driving and you have the proper app. Where is parking space available? Saves you time, energy. It's good for the environment, and you can, of course, pay with that app. And we know about the wearables that basically help you organize your life. So everything is going digital. And we've heard about these disrupted business models now, I think throughout the day, and this is the theme of this session. I thought it was especially astounding to look at a company like Snapchat. Snapchat founded in 2011. In 2013, it had a valuation of $4 billion. The team had a size of 20, not the communications team. The team of Snapchat had a size of 20. And the CEO at that time was 22. And if my math is right, he's 24 now. And they're evaluated at 15 billion. So talking about disruption. And disruption, of course, also means nothing negative. I mean, the way we look at it is really making a good available, at much more affordable prices to many, many more people. So in a way, we're now in this idea economy where you are in a maker's market. You can do things very, very quickly. You can probably also fail very quickly. But what we have to do is to think about, what does that mean for me? What does that mean for my audiences? If you take a look at kids in school right now, they will end up in jobs that don't exist today. I think the statistic says 65 to 70% of the kids in high school today will end up in a job that doesn't exist today. But that doesn't mean that they will be served a job. That means they will help develop these jobs. And that means that you need to sort of invest in yourself all the time and reinvent your skills all the time. And you will not have fixed jobs anymore going forward. For the next years, sure, but more and more we will do crowdsourcing for services. We do a lot of that at HP. We actually have a whole services team that does nothing but crowdsourcing. It works really, really well because you don't just tap into the intelligence of your team, but really into that of the wider crowd. Today we call it crowdsourcing. Tomorrow it's going to be the new normal. But again, what does that mean for people? There is so much stuff happening. I think most people don't understand what's going on around us. I talk to a lot of people, a lot of customers, a lot of partners, and not that I think I know it all. Certainly not. I think I probably know very little as well. But what I'm trying to do is make sense of it, and I think that's the role of the communicator going forward, to think of your audiences, no matter where you are. If you are looking after employees in your company, to think, how can I get them on the train? How can I make sure they understand what's going around us and that they need to think and act differently, because this is not your parents' job market out there anymore. It's very different. So I do think it's a very exciting role for communicators. What we've done at HP, because oftentimes this is also about focus, is to say we need some sort of an operational framework that is simple enough to communicate. Because again, you could just start here and end there. HP has 330,000 people, $125 billion company. We do anything, printers, services, software, solutions, you name it. So you have to focus when you tell your stories. And we said, let's take a step back and think why we really exist. It's really to provide solutions and skills to improve people's lives and really look at it in 3 pillars. Do it in terms of driving human progress around health, economic progress, in terms of education and really well-being of people, and keep the environment in mind for everything that we do. And so what we've done is we concentrate on a few stories that we do tell, sort of that everybody in the company can tell, to make sure that we have an ability to sort of bring this complexity down to something that people can relate to. Because big data is something that people can grasp. The cloud is still something that's nebulous to a lot of people. Security, there is more fear than anything else. So what we're doing is we're trying to tell stories around that. And here is the first one, and this is about environmental progress. So we chose a partner in Conservation International about 2 years ago, and we said to them, look, we would like to demonstrate to our customers and our partners what big data can do and how big data is changing the world. And they said, look, we need your help, because what we're trying to do is basically understand what's happening in the tropical rainforests in this world. The tropical rainforests are so important to us because if you take a deep breath, just sit back and take a deep breath, 40% of the oxygen is coming straight from those rainforests. This is really where the climate sort of is made, basically. This is where your food comes from, pharmaceuticals and everything. Yet we're losing a lot of the rainforests every year, and we don't really know what's going on in the rainforest. We don't really know which species are endangered versus not. So they put sensors and camera traps up in 16 countries around the world, and they got a lot of data, 3 terabytes worth of data back, and they said, look, we have 20 to 30 of our researchers that sit for 6 months. They come up with some results, and all they've done is they've looked in the rearview mirror. They haven't even looked forward. You know, more stuff is happening now. So we brought our big data platform to that specific issue, and one person can now do it in the course of 1 day, come up with these type of analytics. We then went to the services guys and created a wildlife picture index, which anybody can Google and you'll find it, and it'll show you, you can find out what is happening in these rainforests around the world. Interesting to see that some species in Costa Rica would be increasing while they're decreasing in Panama, which is right next, the same thing Indonesia, Malaysia. And that teaches you a lot about exactly what some of the parks do better and how they really treat animals and the species and the environment differently. So together with these parks and governments, we can really make a big difference. What we've also found, and we weren't even looking at that, is that this will help us predict earthquakes in the future, because animals tend to leave the areas 10 days before. There were no more animals on any of these pictures like a few days before the earthquake happened. So just think about what it is and what can happen when you put all of these different databases together, be it in the environmental field or in health or education or you name it. We haven't even started to understand any of that. Here is just a campaign that we did together with Conservation International, which I think is absolutely beautiful. They got people like Harrison Ford and Penelope Cruz, Julia Roberts, to participate with them. And they did like these 1-minute videos where Julia Roberts really tells the story. She's Mother Nature, and she just tells everybody, look, nature doesn't need you. You need nature. It's very, very well done. And we gave $1 for every time the hashtag Nature is Speaking was used to basically help the conservation efforts with Conservation International. I would really recommend that all of you, take a quick look. My last example also in the health space, human progress, where again, we look for ways to demonstrate, cloud, big data, what can it do in order to advance people's health? And if you take a look at India, with well over 1 billion people, there are about 800 million people in India that have little to no access to healthcare. And I go there frequently. So when I was there last time, I flew into Kolkata, and then we drove for, 6-7 hours to some very remote place close to the border of Bangladesh. There is no healthcare out there, but there are a lot of people that really need help. So we brought these type of containers, 2 containers, to people. They're like health centers where people can go to the doctor. Inside, there is video technology that connects these patients and a health worker with doctors in the city. So one day I was sitting with a doctor in the hospital in Calcutta to take a look at what it's like to sit, as a doctor and treat the patient. The next day I was sitting out in the village to sit with the patients to see what it's like to be treated by these doctors. And not only can you provide primary care this way, we upload data right away to an electronic medical record, and all of the data then is analyzed, and we also apply all of the privacy rules there. But you can also start predicting outbreaks of any diseases, because you get it really, really fast, and you get these red type of alerts that normally you wouldn't get. So people don't have to walk for days anymore to get the health care. We're deploying more and more of those throughout India. And again, when you've seen what it takes sometimes for maybe the bread owner of the family to take the child, walk for a day under unbelievable circumstances to get to a place where there is no doctor. And, oh, you know what? There's no electricity today, and we don't have any pharmaceuticals either. We have nothing for you, so why don't you just go back? It happens a lot. So this is a great way of, again, showcasing the difference that technology can make, and it's really disruptive to the way it was done in the past. So there are a lot more examples that I could give, but I think I want to come back to the point that I made earlier. It's a very exciting time that we're living in. Phenomenal opportunities. But again, I do think that most people either don't understand the opportunities because it's too much and it's too fast. I also believe what Gareth said earlier, there's a lot of fear of the unknown, and why do I have to change? So communicators have the biggest task that I can even think about, to make sure you put the puzzle together, to put this mosaic together, to think about the audience and what the audience needs in order to better understand that this train has left the station and it's increasing in speed all the time. And if people want to participate in this economy, which is being disrupted through technology, it's a fact. It's not about whether we like it or not. We have to make this understandable for those that we work with and that we're responsible for, that we're communicating to help them, get on the train and see the opportunities as well going forward. So with that, thank you very much. I think I stayed in my time.